We're going to speak to Ricardo Martins. He's a Brazilian political commentator. I actually met him at CPAC in 2022. He was with the entourage of President Jair Bolsonaro. And there was quite a moment there as Jair Bolsonaro was leaving the stage and going through the media. I was there as well, and I'll show you a video here in a second. But before we get to that, President Trump's speech at CPAC in 2022, and just, of course, over the years, they're always great speeches, but that was very memorable to see him speak there, President Trump. The fact of all of this is President Trump, Jair Bolsonaro, Viktor Orban, and others are standing for the freedom of the world, right? So what kind of question would you ask someone like a Jair Bolsonaro or like President Trump if you only had a second to ask, right? What's the most important thing to the people of the world, or especially in our country, right? Would it be about the economy? Could be. Would it be about the southern border? Probably. Would it be about less crime, law and order, and all of that? I asked Jair Bolsonaro through a Portuguese translator. The question was specific here. I asked, what's your message to the free world? What's your message to the free world? Let's roll that tape, and then we'll have Ricardo Martins joining us live here in just a few minutes.
Presidente, qual é a sua mensagem para o mundo livre? Uma mensagem para o mundo livre. Uma mensagem. Fala só.
Pessoal, fique atento e lute pela sua liberdade, que ela, quando não existe, ela pode acabar.
Obrigado, presidente.
What did he say?
He said,
What did he say?
he said, fight for your freedom and pay attention for everything what you're doing for freedom.
Okay, so it happened to be, of course, you know, a lot of people that were at CPAC, including that lady there, supporter of Jair Bolsonaro. I said, well, I don't speak Portuguese. Can you help me out with a translation? And that's how that went down. So you hear what she said there. She said, fight for your freedom. This was 2 years ago. And then you fast forward to J13 and fight, fight, fight. You know, this is coming to a point now, we know, that is very serious in our country as we face, 46 days until the election. And the person that I'm about to bring on the show here, this is Ricardo Martins, once again, a Brazilian political commentator. I met him as President Trump was leaving the stage and walking kind of out of the CPAC arena there. And I ran into Ricardo, and we've been in touch here and there, but it's going to be great to bring him on because he is a voice that's trying to be silenced as a Brazilian. He is someone that, of course, knows that Lula should not be in office in Brazil. It should be Jair Bolsonaro. He is one of the people. You know, if you've watched me long enough, you know I repeat myself sometimes. It is what it is. But I do bring up Brazil and the people of Brazil, and they know that their election was you know what, stolen, rigged, whatever. And so I know that Ricardo's name, his name is on the Twitter files as one of the accounts blocked by the Brazilian Supreme Court. He is a voice that's trying to be silenced. And so what we are here at this network is a pro-free speech network, and we love freedom, right? So it'll be interesting to hear from Ricardo once he joins our broadcast, which should be at any minute from now. And he will talk about the things that the Brazilian people have been facing and what that's been like. So it's going to be quite interesting to talk to him. Once again, met him at CPAC in 2022. As today is Rally Day in North Carolina, and that's what, you know, President Trump is going to be speaking about the economy today. Obviously, always speaking about freedom. Always encouraging the country and inspiring all of us, inspiring the free world. The people, as you guys have seen, want President Trump in office. They want him there for a number of reasons. They want common sense. He's the people's president. And so I love Brazil as well because the people there loved Jair Bolsonaro. It's kind of same, right? Jair Bolsonaro, friend of Donald Trump. Both powerful, great human beings that love freedom and love the free way for our society, for the whole entire globe. So who knows what's going to happen for this fork in the road coming up, but we're going to go, hopefully we're going to be going to the right side of history here. All right, so Ricardo Martins joins us live right now. He's a Brazilian political commentator. Ricardo, you know, I remember meeting you at CPAC, and we saw President Trump kind of walk by not too far from us, and I know you were there with Team Bolsonaro. Your thoughts, first of all, about what's going on in the United States of America right now as we face a huge fork in the road?
Hey, man, thanks for the invitation to be here with you guys. I am amazed of what's going on in America. It's not new. The enemy is within. We know that this is an agenda against free speech, against freedom of religion, and also in regards to American politics. What's happening right now is we had an unfair elections back in 2020, and we expect that we will have a different result this time, because there's a lot of things that I see in American politics, especially when it comes to the Harris campaign right now. They're simply repeating Marxist speeches, and this is very scary. I fear for that because I come from Brazil, which is a third world economy, exactly because cultural Marxism destroyed our country, and now we're trying to regroup and recover. But when I come to America and I see these speeches, I remember back in the 80s and the 90s in Brazil, and that really scares me a lot.
So you saw what happened in the States in 2020. For Brazil, with Lula over Bolsonaro, your thoughts? I mean, think about it. The people there, they know that Bolsonaro should be the president, right?
Yes. Now they took Bolsonaro's political rights. He can no longer run for president next time. But back in 2022, we saw the same pattern from America repeating in Brazil. But in Brazil, we don't have any means of paper ballots. We don't have that means to count the votes. We don't have electoral college like in America. We only have the Supreme Electoral Court, who rules upon every single aspect in the elections. And it was very clear they favor Bolsonaro instead of Lula. And we have to remember this. Lula is a convicted felon for over 19 charges and 11 condemnations already. And he was sentenced for over 40 years in prison. And one Supreme Court judge just signed a paper releasing Lula to run against Bolsonaro. And we saw the whole thing, the whole establishment, the entire Brazilian establishment came against Bolsonaro because they didn't want free speech in Brazil. That's simply. Exactly.
And then so you see Lula in Brazil as an actual convicted felon. And then you go to the United States and we don't have, technically, it's a convicted felon, as the left calls it, but it's all lies and lawfare against President Trump. So your thoughts about what you've seen in the States with the lawfare from New York, D.C., Georgia, and elsewhere?
I believe we're experiencing this. I know that they will probably use Brazil as an experiment of how to co-opt the courts in every single state and the federal courts in Brazil, and then come against the adversaries. So I see the same pattern that happened back in Brazil in 2022 since now. The same things are happening in America, and America should be concerned about this and be very watchful. Remember Venezuela. They have everything enlisted, and the lady was elected, but Nicolas Maduro refused to accept the election results. The same thing in America. We have to hold accountable exactly those who participate in this electoral process, and that's something that really concerns me. Is that the judicial establishment going against Donald Trump. That's very visible in America. We have no doubt about it.
Exactly. So your thoughts about President Trump? We know you love Jair Bolsonaro, as do I. Your thoughts about Donald Trump?
Donald Trump was the greatest leader that I've ever seen leading a country in the Western Hemisphere. We know that nobody's perfect, but Trump He was a great man, standing during the COVID and the worst moments in American history. And we need to understand this. We're going towards a place where we see Democrats coming to the Republicans and joining the conservatives, like what happened to some of them right now. Especially Kennedy come to join Trump in the campaign. That's a huge sign that we're at the crossroads, or we go towards totalitarianism, or we stay as a free country. And this is the greatest thing about Donald Trump. And he got along very well with Bolsonaro. He got along very well with the Brazilian government. And the same way they took Trump, the same way they removed Bolsonaro. And we expect those two leaders leading our countries again.
Yes, that would be wonderful to see Jair Bolsonaro as president in Brazil. Of course, Donald Trump as president of the United States of America. On that point, we're going to go to the Twitter files here in a second. You mentioned something about that as well. Elon Musk said that unless Trump is elected, America will fall to tyranny. Trump must win. And then President Trump on Truth Social kind of screen grabbed that from X and posted it out as well. So that fork in the road, you see it. Of all people, because being from Brazil, you've seen what it's like there. Let's go to those Twitter files. You said that your name is actually on the Twitter files as one of the accounts blocked by the Brazilian Supreme Court. Can you share with us about that?
Exactly. The Supreme Court has 11 judges, and all the 11 judges, 9 out of 11 was indicated by the left. Like, remember, we have Lula for 8 years, and then we have Dilma da Silva, which is Dilma Rousseff. She's also from the Workers' Party, from the left, from the Marxist, and we had another government right now, which is which Lula from the last 25 years. 9 of the Supreme Court judges serves the left. We do not have a balanced Supreme Court like in America. The Brazilian Supreme Court is very much interventionist. They intervene in all aspects in the society. They want to legislate rather than respecting the law and protecting the Constitution. So they want to legislate against everything. What happened is a judge called Alexandre de Moraes. He started to go after the conservatives and every single Bolsonaro supporter. And they took my account and they imprisoned journalists in Brazil. This man, Alexandre de Moraes, he's one of the greatest dictators in the world right now as we speak, because he's using the Supreme Court to go after every single Bolsonaro supporter. And he's the one who ruled to remove Bolsonaro's political rights and to confiscate his passport. Bolsonaro cannot even leave the country right now. So this is the situation we're having. And because Elon Musk decided to go pro free speech and open the Twitter files, it was like something that it's unbelievable. Journalists that used to sit on the left side and be more liberal, like Michael Schellenberger and Glenn Greenwald, are going against Alexandre de Moraes. So this is the scenario that we've seen in Brazil, and they actually, Alexandre de Moraes ruled in favor to send a congressman to jail, because his speech inside of the chamber, which is protected by law, he cannot be held accountable for what he said inside the Congress. So what happened is Alexandre de Moraes sent him to jail because of his speech against Alexandre de Moraes. And he's trying to rule the country using the left, using the central party like the Uni Party we have in Brazil, and also using some names on the right who betrayed Bolsonaro and going against him. So this is what we've seen in Brazil. Alexandre de Moraes, he cancels Starlinks, and he cancels also Twitter in Brazil. That's something maybe you want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to bring up that point. And let me just catch up to people that are just tuning in. This is Ricardo Martins. He's a Brazilian political commentator. He is someone that is in full support of Donald Trump. He's in full support of Jair Bolsonaro. I ran into Ricardo in 2022 at CPAC. You guys can scrub back a little bit on the interview if you missed it. But Ricardo, tell me about X. Tell me about Starlink, Elon Musk, Brazil. A lot of international news right there.
Yeah, Alexandre de Moraes. He's the one in America. You had Twitter files, but the executive, the government, the Biden administration, the ones and the system was in favor of Donald Trump and the vaccines and everything. So the deep state came against Trump. In Brazil, Alexandre de Moraes he is the #1 figure that went against every single Bolsonaro supporter. So this is a different scenario. And Alexandre de Moraes has been censoring speech over and over and over again. And because of that, Elon Musk decided to expose everything to the world to see, because they wanted Elon Musk to comply with the Brazilian government, censor political right-wing conservatives in Brazil, and stay silent. And Elon Musk said, hold on, we're not going to be silent before all this. He's breaking the law. And what happened is Alexandre was exposed. And a dictator doesn't love to be exposed. And he went against Elon Musk. And how he did that? First of all, he blocked the servers from X to run in Brazil. He canceled X. And then he went against Starlink because Elon Musk refused to block those accounts in Brazil. So my account for a couple of days and some other journalists went on again, and everybody was able to see us. But all of a sudden, he decided to come after Starlink, cancel Starlink's right to operate in Brazil, froze their assets. It's over $3.5 million and assets. And the Supreme Court, Alexandre de Moraes, he ruled in favor to remove $3.5 million from Starlink accounts to pay the fines he imposed against X. So, and because of that, now Elon Musk have his company unable to operate in Brazil, X unable to operate in Brazil, and over $45 million in assets frozen in Brazilian accounts. This brings a lot of judicial insecurity to our country. And unfortunately, it turns our country into this place of totalitarianism.
Yeah, exactly. And the fork in the road that we're facing here in the States becoming slowly, eerily similar to what's going on in the UK as well right now. Ricardo, you know, while you're opening up, you're talking about all of these details. That takes a lot of courage. Can you talk to us about the courage it takes to do that, but also why are you doing it, Ricardo?
I'm really doing this because I don't want to be counted among the cowards. And I want my children to look at me and say, my father, he stood still against all this evilness in the darkness. And we do know that this is a natural war, political war, but it also a spiritual war, because what China fears the most are not the American economy. They fear the American families. They fear God upon America. And they want to destroy everything that we built, our fathers, our founding fathers, and every single man who gave his life for America and for freedom. And they're coming against us. And I want to, this is my appeal to every single American that are watching us, even if you're not watching live. I really want to call you out so we can fight against totalitarianism in America, because the enemy is within. That before we were told that the Soviets are the ones who are coming after us and taking our freedom, but now Americans are going after other Americans that want freedom. And don't fall for this. This is an evil plan for this country. And again, I said this because the Chinese Center for Social Studies, their statement was that the Americans are so strong, not because of their economies or of the political parties or anything related to that. The secret of the American society are the churches and their religions and their Christianity that brought freedom to this country. And this is my statement. I really wish that everyone come together and understand that we are in this crossroads right now. We got to choose wisely. We got to choose what we see with our own eyes and never deny the fact that if America falls, the Western Hemisphere will fall consequently. This is the last stand.
Yeah, 100%. It is the last stand. Ricardo Martins beautifully said for our country. Thank you for the encouraging words. I'm going to post this entire interview on my Truth Social account, but also I'm sure it's going to be seen by a number of people because this was quite the interview. Thank you so much. Ricardo Martins, Brazilian political commentator, joining us live right now. I'll talk to you soon, Ricardo.
Thank you, Matt.